Good afternoon. Rob Burns here for Bob Each Way. How are you all? Hope you're able to ride out the Cyclone Alfred, in a safe and comfortable environment. We're hunkered down here in Ipswich at the moment, just waiting for what happens. Alfred is taking its time to get across the coast and make its feelings felt, its impact felt. It's already impacted on the coast from up around Caboolture down to northern New South Wales, so with a bit of rain and a bit of scouring of beaches and that sort of thing. We don't have to worry about that in Ipswich, unfortunately. We don't have any beaches here close in Ipswich, but we will, if the rainfall they're talking about, they're estimating, is true and correct. We are going to get quite a bit of water and possibly flooding in the river. And Ipswich has had its fair share of flooding over the years, and there's a few different suggestions about it. Hopefully, it copes well. The big issue, I suppose, will be where it dumps rain in the headwaters of the Brisbane River. And you've got the dams up there, Somerset and Wivenhoe dams, which store all the drinking water and so forth for Brisbane. There's also the North Pine Dam, which doesn't really impact us here in Ipswich, but that is up that way. And I'm not sure on the capacity of the dams at the moment, but that's always a big factor. Last time the Ipswich area got severely flooded, they had a release of dam water. I'm not sure if they've released any water now. I haven't heard anything on the news, and they're telling us basically since yesterday afternoon to stay where you are. Don't go out if you don't need to, only if it's an urgent matter. My son did have to go. He works with the ambulance, so he worked last night, and he's working again tomorrow. He's having a bit of a sleep at the moment. He did a 12-hour shift overnight, so that's. I did ask a question on Facebook and got a few interesting responses about that, because he wanted to know if Macca's was open so he could get some breakfast on the way home. So he did get some Macca's for all those that were worried that it wasn't going to be open for him. He ended up grabbing a bite to eat. He does love his Macca's after he finishes his shift. But there's been a few things happening, a few incidences about Cyclone. I remember back to Cyclone Wanda that came to Brisbane in 1974, and it didn't really cross the coast like Alfred's looking like doing, but it did dump a hell of a lot of rain on us at the time back in 74. My dad was pretty superstitious, lived in Mitchelton at the time, and it rained constantly, and he said he blamed the frogs, so he went out and got into the frogs and cane toads and that sort of thing around the house. He said, "I'll get rid of these buggers, that'll stop the rain coming." He reckons that was the cause of the heavy rain at the time. But like this is that was over 50 years ago now, and I just have memories of the amount of water that was around at the time. It was quite an astounding sight back then, and it looks like we'll probably experience the same thing again. We also went through, my wife and I and kids, through the flooding in Charleville in 1990. We were caught out there, living out there and caught in floods, so we do know a little bit about water, but I've never been around cyclones. So I got on to an expert who's been through a few cyclones in his day, and he gave me some good advice about cyclones. He said, watch them, because I was talking to him. It's my brother Ian. He lived in North Queensland around Cairns for quite some time, so he did experience a few cyclones up there, and he was telling me, he said, you keep an eye on them. I said, well, it's blue sky and sunny and all this sort of thing, and and it doesn't look as a thing. He said that's what it's like. He said the slow moving cyclones are the ones that are the worst in rain. They'll dump a lot of rain. He said the fast moving ones don't dump. They do dump the rain as well, but not as in the numbers. They don't linger around as long as the slow moving cyclones, which Alfred is. So I said, oh, okay, that's interesting. And he said, yeah. He said, best thing is that wherever you are, stay put. Don't go out too much, and yeah, unless you really need to, because you don't know what could be flying around in the wind and that sort of thing. So yeah, very you know good to hear from someone who's been through it and experienced it. It's actually I think it's actually going to test our capacity down here on some of the houses. I'm not sure if they're as cyclone rated as they were in North Queensland. I know there was a lot of studies and that done about getting the houses up there up to cyclone standard and that sort of thing after there'd been some destruction of homes and that. So it's going to be an interesting test on a lot of probably the older homes around the South East Queensland, down to the Gold Coast and up here into Brisbane and beyond. The rain looked like the rain band that's going to follow it looks like it's going to extend across the range to over to Toowoomba and go westward because they're talking about the McIntyre and the Condamine rivers also being flooded as well. So that's something for people in the west to keep an eye out for as well. We did have some things planned for this weekend event, but like everything else, it's put on hold, moved to another day till the weather's on the improve. Hopefully people get through it without too much fuss, and definitely no one getting hurt or loss of life would be fantastic. A result for it. So I just advise everyone who's in the area, follow the directions of the thing. The disaster management people, the SES, tell you what to do. Follow their instructions, and if you do have friends that live outside, keep them updated on how you're going so that they know you're okay. And it does get stressful. You do get a bit of cabin fever. That's why I'm recording this because my son's asleep and the wife's having a sleep as well, and I'm stuck watching cyclone stuff on television. It's driving me a bit crazy. So I thought, I'll come and talk about cyclone stuff and just see what people will think of it. But it's something you think. But also an important thing to remember as well. The Broncos won last night and they got back safely from New South Wales. That's a positive for any time of the year, and hopefully, the Dolphins do well as well, even though they're down a few players tonight for their game against the Bunnies. But look, like I said, make sure you keep safe, listen and follow instructions, have plenty of drinking water. And an important one for us people that aren't particularly on the healthy side, make sure you have plenty of your medication and that on hand, and your identification stuff and that. Make sure you keep that handy as well. But that's something to consider. But like I said, I got to speak to an expert on cyclones about it, and he said the way we dodged them up in North Queensland, we wore alfoil hats on our heads and an onion bag on our hips. And he said it stopped cyclones from getting you and also COVID. So that's something to think about. Thanks to Ian for that one. Okay, Rob Burns here speaking to you for Bob Each Way, and hopefully we'll catch up after the cyclone.